First in the spotlight tonight is Chris Granderson, a hospital administrator from Coventry. His specialist subject, Hurricane Higgins. Next, Gareth Kingston from Flitwick. His specialist subject, Charles Darwin's grandfather, Erasmus Darwin. Alan Gibbs is a drug researcher from Lancashire. He answers questions on the American sitcom Curb Your Enthusiasm. Liz Gore's a researcher from London. Her subject, Dame Margot Fonteyn. And Philip Isaak, a volunteer tutor assistant on the Dirk Pitt novels of Clive Cussler. Hello and welcome to Mastermind with me, John Humphreys. Tonight's 5 semi-finalists have already been here before, of course. Now they have to do it all over again if they're to get through to the grand final. It's the usual rules, 90 seconds of questions on their specialist subject and then 2 minutes on general knowledge. So let's have our first contender, please. And your name is?
Chris Granderson.
Your occupation?
Hospital administrator.
Your chosen subject?
The life and career of Alex Higgins.
Alex Higgins in 90 seconds. Here we go. What is the name of the snooker club in South Belfast where Higgins first started playing at the age of 11?
Jampot.
Yep. At what venue in Selly Park, Birmingham, did Higgins win the first of his 2 World Championship titles in '72 when he beat John Spencer by 37 frames to 32?
British Legion.
Yep. Higgins lost to Spencer in '72 by 4 frames to 3 in the final of the first professional event that he'd played in. What was that event called?
Park Lane 2000.
Park Drive 2000. Who did Higgins partner to win the '84 World Doubles Championship?
Jimmy White.
Yep. In '72, Higgins, then managers, gave him the nickname Hurricane because of the speed of his play. Jack Leeming was one of the managers. Who was the other?
John McLaughlin.
Yes, Higgins reached the final of a ranking tournament for the last time in 1990 when he lost by 10 frames to 8 to the Canadian Bob Chaperon. In what event?
British Open.
Yes. Higgins' defence of his first world title ended when he was defeated in the '73 semi-finals by which player?
Eddie Charlton.
Correct. Higgins was banned by the sports governing body, the WPBSA, for a whole season following a series of misdemeanours. Which season?
1991.
Yes. Higgins was forced to join the qualifying tournament at the start of the 91-92 season. Who beat him 5-0 in his first match, a qualifier for the Grand Prix?
Pass.
Higgins won his last 16 match in the 1984 Masters at Wembley, and the following morning on TVAM said that he hated his opponent, and that cost him a £1,500 fine from the sports governing body. Who was the opponent?
Dave Davis. It
was. Higgins lost to Cliff Thorburn in the 1980 World Championship final. What was the score?
31.
It was, I can tell you because we're out of time, it was 18-16. You had... one pass. He was forced to join the qualifying tournament when he was beaten 5-0 in the first match by Adrian Rosa. That one pass, Chris, your score is 8. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Gareth Kingston.
Your occupation?
Marketing manager.
And your specialist subject?
The life and work of Erasmus Darwin.
Erasmus Darwin in 90 seconds. Here we go. Erasmus Darwin was a poet, philosopher and pioneer of theories of evolutionary biology. In 1794, he published the first volume of a lengthy work in which he detailed his theories on evolution, along with many other things. What was it called?
The Loves of the Plants.
No, Zoonomia. In a cutting reply to a young acquaintance, what did Darwin say? Gives me time for reflection and saves me from asking impertinent questions.
His stammer.
Yes, Darwin was a keen inventor and designed a horizontal windmill for which industrialist?
Wedgwood.
Yes. What is the Latin motto meaning everything from shells that Darwin provocatively added to his coat of arms, reflecting his belief in evolution?
A conscious omnia.
Correct. Who praised Darwin's description of the creation of the universe out of chaos as the most sublime passage in any author or in any of the few languages with which I am acquainted?
Walpole.
Yep. After a brief and unsuccessful period in Nottingham, Darwin moved to another city where he established a flourishing medical practice. Which city?
Lichfield.
Correct. Darwin's first published poem was written while he was studying at Cambridge in 1751. one whose death was the subject?
Frederick, Princess of Wales.
Yes, Prince Wales, yes. What work by the painter Henry Fuseli was accompanied by Darwin's verses when it was published as an engraving in 1783?
The Nightmare.
Yep. What name was given to the informal group of Midlands-based thinkers, industrialists and scientists that included Darwin, James Watt, Matthew Boulton and Josiah Wedgwood?
The Lunar Society.
Yes. Which member of the Lunar Society wrote after Darwin's death that the communication of happiness and the relief of misery were by him held as the only standard of moral merit?
Bolton.
James Keir, whose theories on the ascent of vapour did Darwin discredit in his first paper for the Royal Society?
Eels.
Henry Eales is correct. No passes, Gareth. You have 9 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Alan Gibbs.
Your occupation?
Drug researcher.
And your chosen subject?
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. In 90 seconds, here we go. In the series, the Seinfeld creator Larry Davis stars as a fictionalised version of himself. In which episode is Larry acutely embarrassed by a typo in an obituary that he's had printed for one of his wife Cheryl's relatives?
Beloved Aunt.
Yep. What is the name of the restaurant that Larry and his manager Jeff invest in along with Ted Danson and Michael York?
Bobo's.
Yep. After Larry has injured the basketball player Shaquille O'Neal, he makes amends by giving him a tape of every Seinfeld episode. What episode does Shaq say is his favourite?
The Contest.
Yes, the Black family are taken into the David household after their own home has been destroyed. In which natural disaster?
Hurricane Edna.
Yep. What's written on the placard that Larry is forced to wear while he's walking up and down outside the W Hotel after the restaurant's owner has taken him to court?
I steal forks from restaurants.
Yes. What song does Larry request when Alanis Morissette sings at the rescheduled charity benefit concert at his house? She has confided its secret meaning to him.
You ought to know.
Yes. What phrase does Larry use during the preparations to renew his vows with Cheryl that upsets the rabbi because the rabbi's brother-in-law was killed by a bike messenger on 9/11?
9/11.
Let's roll. Which critic's hands are injured in a game of dodgeball with Larry, making it impossible to use his signature thumbs up or thumbs down to review Larry's restaurant?
Bob Balaban.
Andy Portico. At which Broadway theatre does The Producers open with Larry as Max Bialystock, a casting that its producer Mel Brooks hopes will finally sink the show?
St James.
Yep, in the episode Ted and Mary, Ted Danson and his wife invite Larry and Cheryl to watch a concert in the Dansons' private box. Which singer is performing?
Paul Simon.
It is. In the episode The Hero, Ricky Gervais performs the title role in an extremely long play. What's it called?
Mr Symington.
Is correct. No passes. Alan, you two have 9 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Liz Gore.
Your occupation?
Researcher.
And your chosen subject?
The Life of Margot Fonteyn.
Margot Fonteyn, in 90 seconds. Margot Fonteyn was an iconic figure in British ballet. With what title was she honoured by the Royal Ballet on the occasion of her 60th birthday tribute in May 79?
Prima ballerina assoluta.
Yes, at whose dancing school in Ealing did Peggy Hookham, who became Margot Fonteyn, take lessons from the age of 4?
Grace Basusto.
Correct. Which Hollywood star was introduced to Fonteyn during the Sadler's Wells Company's visit to America in 1949? Her words, "I'm so excited to meet you," apparently boosted Fonteyn's self-confidence.
John Wayne.
No, it was Catherine Hepburn. Fonteyn made her professional debut as a member of the Corps de Ballet with the Vic Wells Company in 1934 in the ballet Casse-Noisette. What was her role?
A snowflake.
Yes. Which couturier to whom she was introduced by her lover Roland Petit in 1947 designed her wedding dress and the dress she wore when she received her damehood in 1956?
Dior.
Yep. What is the title of the ballet choreographed by Dalal Ashkar and premiered in Rio de Janeiro in 1975, for which Frederick Ashton created a pas de deux for Fonteyn?
Foresta Amazonica.
Correct. Whom did Fonteyn describe after their first meeting as having a pinched little face? She went on to comment on his nostrils and his curious pallor.
Nureyev.
Yes, Fonteyn made a television series with her friend, the producer Patricia Foy, that was first screened in 79. What was it called?
The Magic of Dance.
Yes, Fonteyn was briefly held in prison in Panama City in 59 after being involved in an unsuccessful coup with her husband, Roberto de Arias. What was the name of the prison?
The Model Prison.
Yes, or Castel Marcello. What was the nationality of Fonteyn's maternal grandfather, whose surname Fontes she anglicised for her stage name?
Brazilian.
Brazilian is correct. No passes to this. You also have 9 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Philip Isaak.
Your occupation?
Voluntary tutor assistant.
And your chosen subject?
The Dirk Pitt novels of Clive Cussler.
The Dirk Pitt novels of Clive Cussler in 90 seconds. Here we go. In the novels, Dirk Pitt is a former US Air Force major who works for NUMA, the undersea equivalent of NASA. What does the acronym NUMA stand for?
National Underwater and Marine Agency.
Correct. In Night Probe, documents are discovered that reveal that Great Britain agreed to sell a country to the United States for $1 billion in 1914. Which country?
Canada.
Correct. What costume is Pitt wearing at Disneyland when he helps to catch Oscar Rondheim and his men who are dressed as pirates?
Isaak pass.
Julia Lee is an undercover agent for the American Immigration Service. What cover name does she use when she poses as an illegal immigrant on board the Indigo Star?
Pass.
In which harbour was the nuclear submarine Starbuck expected to dock in Pacific Vortex?
Pass.
In Cyclops, Pitt hunts for a gold statue of a woman that's been abandoned in the waters around Cuba. What part of the statue has been removed?
The head.
No, the ruby heart. Pitt saves the cruise ship Sea Splendor by ramming his speedboat into an oncoming freighter. What is the name of the captain of the Sea Splendor?
Pass.
In Black Wind, Sarah Matson does an autopsy on a sea lion and discovers the poison that has been killing animals in the Aleutian Islands. What is the poison?
Pass.
In Raise the Titanic, the American president authorises the raising of the ship because it is believed that a rare element was part of its cargo. Which element?
Byzanium.
Yes. What island is the ship Emerald Dolphin heading to before it's destroyed by fire and Pitt has to rescue its passengers?
Timor.
Tahiti. In Sahara, Pitt and Al Giordino, I've started so I'll finish, are asked to travel up a river to find the source of a highly toxic poison that is entering it. Which river?
Pass.
Well, I can tell you because we're out of time. It is the Niger or the Niger River. You had 6 passes in total. It was cyanide gas that was killing animals in the Aleutian Islands. Alphonse Franco was the name of the captain of the Sea Splendor. Pearl Harbor was where the submarine Starbuck was expected to dock. Ling Tai was the cover name that Julia Lee used. And the costume Pitt was wearing at Disneyland was the Big Bad Wolf. Philip, you have 3 points. Well, a lot of 9s there. Let's have a look at all of those scores. In 5th place with 3 points, Philip Isaak. 4th place, 8 points, Chris Granderson. Joint 1st place, 9 points apiece, Gareth Kingston, Alan Gibbs and Liz Gore. So it is the general knowledge round now, and if there's a tie at the end of it, then the number of passes is taken into account, and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they're tied on passes as well, there will be a tie break. So let us get on with it and ask Philip to join us again, please. So 2 minutes of general knowledge in this round, Philip. Here we go. George Orwell's autobiographical work, first published in 1933, is called Down and Out in Paris and
Beverly Hills.
In London. In Greek mythology, Nyx was the goddess or female personification of what?
The night.
Yes. Who provides the voice of the book in the 2005 film version of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Pass.
The Nicobar pigeon, a native of parts of Southeast Asia, is popularly thought to be the closest living relative of which extinct bird?
Dodo.
Yeah, the tourist attractions of a town on the North Wales coast include Britain's smallest house and a teapot museum. It's the site of one of Edward I's castles. What town?
Caernarfon.
Conway. In cookery, what French word meaning reddish-brown is used for a mixture of fat and flour cooked together and used as a base for sauces?
Pass.
Which artist designed the 14th century campanile of the Duomo in Florence, although he is better known as a painter than as an architect?
Cellini.
Giotto. What is the final part of the cycle in a 4-stroke internal combustion engine? The first 3 are intake, compression and power.
Pass.
Which boxing promoter, noted for his flamboyant manner and hairstyle, first came to prominence with his promotion of the Foreman Alley clash in Kinshasa in 1974?
Don King.
Yes. Who, as People's Commissar for War from 1918 to 24, is generally credited with founding the Soviet Red Army?
Trotsky.
Correct. What term was reputedly coined in the 1920s by the journalist H.L. Mencken and is used for those areas of the southern United States traditionally characterised by their puritanical and fundamentalist Christianity?
Bible Belt.
Yes, in which of Shakespeare's plays does Viola disguise herself as a boy named Cesario and become page to Orsino, Duke of Illyria?
If you'd like it.
Twelfth Night. Rachmaninoff's Opus 43 for piano and orchestra is usually titled Rhapsody on a Theme of which violinist and composer?
Paganini.
Correct. Which city in Jordan was the thriving capital of the Nabatean kingdom? It was rediscovered in 1812 by the Swiss explorer Johann Burckhardt.
Petra.
Correct. Time is up. You had 3 passes. The final part of that 4-stroke process is the exhaust. That French word used in cookery is roux. It's a roux that you make. And Stephen Fry provided the voice of the book in the film Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You have a total now, Philip, of 10 points. And now Chris Granderson again, please. And you start this round with 8 points. Let's see how you do with your general knowledge. 2 minutes. Here we go. Which of Henry VIII's wives was the first to be executed?
Anne of Cleves.
Anne Boleyn. In the novels of P.G. Wodehouse, which castle is the seat of Clarence Threepwood, the 9th Earl of Emsworth?
Floundings.
Landings. What French term is used in painting, literature and music for a composition incorporating several different styles or made up of parts drawn from a variety of sources?
Baroque.
Pastiche. Ode to Joy, which was adopted in 1972 as the anthem of the Council of Europe, comes from the 9th Symphony of a German composer who was...
Beethoven.
Yep. In which Essex town was the world's first radio factory opened by Marconi in 1898? The town was granted city status in 2012.
Basingstoke.
Chelmsford, whose reign as Manchester United's manager came to an end in April 2014 after just 10 months, making it the shortest tenure in the post for over 80 years.
Moist.
Yep. Which 2006 film, directed by Mel Gibson, deals with the end of the Mayan civilization and is performed in a Mayan dialect?
Apocalyptia.
Yes. In the medical condition known as lycanthropy, the sufferer believes he's what sort of animal?
Werewolf.
Yep, or wolf. In Mexican cuisine, what dish consisting of a tortilla filled with various ingredients has a name that comes from the Mexican Spanish for a plug or wadding?
Enchilada.
Taco. The Victorian hymn There is a Green Hill Far Away is about a specific event in Jesus' life. What event?
Crucifixion.
Yeah. Which island in the Eastern Pacific is known as Rapa Nui by its Polynesian inhabitants?
Easter Island.
Yes. What savings scheme did the Shadow Chancellor Harold Wilson dismiss as a squalid raffle when it was introduced by Harold Macmillan in 1956?
Bonds.
Premium bonds. Who was chief conductor of the Halle Orchestra from 1943 till 68?
Beecham.
No, Barbaroli. What name is given to the breed of dog, a cross between a Labrador and a poodle that was created in the 80s for a blind woman whose husband was allergic to dog hair?
Labradoodle.
Yeah. In 2014, who became the oldest recipient of a Brit Award at the age of 67? His acceptance speech was delivered by Kate Moss.
Cliff Richard.
No, David Bowie. Which senior Nazi spent 4 days locked up in the Tower of London in 1941, where he signed autographs for the warders?
Rudolf Hess.
Is correct. No passes, Chris. You have 16 points. And now Gareth Kingston again, please. And you start this round with 9 points, and 16, as we speak, is the score to beat. Let's see if you can do that. Here we go. Who first came to fame as the lead singer of the band the Boomtown Rats?
Geldof.
Yeah. Goiter is a pathological enlargement of which gland of the human body?
Spleen.
Thyroid. Which Swiss tennis player beat Rafa Nadal to win the men's singles at the 2014 Australian Open in his first appearance in a Grand Slam final?
Wawrinka.
Yes. What name for women's cut-off trousers that were fashionable in the 1950s comes from their similarity to those that were worn by cyclists?
Capri shorts.
Pedal pushers. What was the nationality of the philosopher and revolutionary thinker Karl Marx, who co-wrote the Communist Manifesto?
German.
He was. In which city, the capital of the Brazilian state of Amazonas, did England play their first match in the 2014 Football World Cup finals? Yep. Whose first novel, Mary Barton, published in 1848, grew out of the author's observation of the poor and uneducated factory workers of Manchester?
Dickens.
No, Gaskell, Mrs. Gaskell. Which motor racing commentator, who for many years was the voice of Formula One, had a father who competed in the Isle of Man TT and also broadcast on motorcycling for the
Walker.
BBC?
Sorry, Walker.
Murray Walker. Which Italian composer wrote the operas Macbeth, Otello and Falstaff, which are all based on plays by Shakespeare?
Donizetti.
No, Verdi. What name for an assistant to a parish priest or vicar comes from the Latin word for care?
Deacon.
Curate. Which 2004 film, directed by Alexander Payne, tells of two men approaching middle age who take a trip to California's wine country before one of them gets married?
Sideways.
Yes, who successively held the cabinet posts of Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Foreign Secretary and Chancellor of the Exchequer during 1989 before becoming Prime Minister in 90?
Major.
Yeah. Of which Mediterranean island was Bastia the capital until 1791?
Sicily.
Corsica. Which forest park in southwest Scotland is the largest of its kind in Britain? In 2009, it was listed as a dark sky park because of its exceptionally clear night skies.
Kielder.
No, Galloway. What name for the two dots placed over a vowel to indicate a change of sound, used especially in Germanic languages, comes from the German for about and sound?
Umlaut.
Yes. Time's up. No passes. Gareth, you scored 17 points. And now Alan Gibbs again, please. And you also start with 9 points, and 17 is now the score to beat. It's creeping up. Let's see if you can do that in 2 minutes. Here we go. By what title was Elizabeth Angela Marguerite Bowes-Lyon better known during the last 50 years of her life?
Queen Mother.
Yeah, in words such as isobar and isotope, the Greek prefix iso has what meaning?
The same.
Equal, yeah. In which city is Puccini's opera Tosca set? It had its premiere there in 1900.
Cairo.
Rome. Under what pen name does David John Moore Cornwell write spy fiction?
Donna Carey.
Yep. Who was the commander of the pirate ship the Black Pig in a children's television cartoon series named after him?
Captain Pugwash.
Yes, a New York art gallery reopened in 2004 and a new building designed by the Japanese architect Yoshio Taniguchi. Which gallery?
MoMA.
Yeah, Museum of Modern Art. Godgifu is the Old English name of which legendary Mercian noblewoman?
Leah Frick.
No, Lady Godiva. What branch of astronomy was launched by the discoveries of the American physicist and engineer Karl Jansky in 1931?
Pulsars.
Radio. By what name was Middlesex Street in London's East End known until 1830 because of the sellers of old clothes who traded there?
That's Petticoat Lane.
Yes, a thick, sweet biscuit, particularly associated with Scotland, is traditionally served in triangular pieces. What's it called?
Shortbread.
Yep. Who was reappointed England's cricket head coach in April 2014, 5 years after he was dismissed from the post after a difficult relationship with Kevin Peterson?
Andy Flower.
No, Peter Moores. What name is given to a tradesman who supplies or repairs items of furniture, especially those involving woven or similar fabrics and the stuffing used in them?
Upholsterer.
Yes, which country numbers among its patron saints St Andrew, St Nicholas of Myra and St Therese of Lisieux?
France.
Russia. Who was elected as the first Prime Minister of the newly independent Republic of the Congo in 1960? He was murdered a few months later.
Lumumba.
Yes. Which tree-dwelling Asian primate, whose name means man of the forest, belongs to the genus Pongo?
Orangutan.
Yeah. What was the name of the bloated pink character with yellow spots from Noel's House Party that topped the UK charts at Christmas 1993?
Mr. Blobby.
Yes. Samuel Johnson once said that no man but a blockhead ever wrote except for...
Money.
Yep, a Spanish Jesuit, started off Finnish, who undertook missionary journeys to India, Ceylon and Japan, died in 1552 preparing for a mission to China. What was his name?
Francis Xavier.
Yeah, always worth a guess.
Certainly is.
You have no passes. Alan, you now up to a total of 22 points. And finally, Liz Gore again, please. So the bar has been raised that much higher, Liz, and you've got 22 to beat. But you start out with 9 points. Here we go, 2 minutes of general knowledge. Which television broadcaster greeted viewers with this catchphrase, hello, good evening and welcome?
David Frost.
Yes, what term is used for a question such as, is the Pope a Catholic? It's asked to emphasise a point rather than obtain an answer.
Rhetorical.
Yeah, The Return of the Native, first published in 1878 and set on the sombre Egdon Heath, was written by whom?
Hardy.
Yep. What is the most widely spoken native language in India? With English, it's one of the Indian government's official languages.
Hindi.
Yes. Which contemporary fashion designer related to the television presenter Kirsty Allsop is noted for her bright, vintage-inspired floral print designs for bags, stationery and other products?
Gareth Kingston.
Yes, in 1802, the English pharmacist and amateur meteorologist Luke Howard introduced the Latin names for the classification of what features of the atmosphere?
Clouds.
Yes. Who starred in the musical Barnum from 1981 to 83? He's best known for his portrayal of the hapless Frank Spencer on telly.
Michael Crawford.
Yep. Which German golfer missed a relatively simple putt on the final hole of the 91 Ryder Cup that enabled the Americans to regain the trophy? In 2004, he captained the winning European team.
Lange.
Is correct. In which county is the Beamish Open Air Museum known as the Living Museum of the North?
Durham.
Yes, the 62 film The Longest Day shows the viewpoints of both Allied and German troops throughout what event in the Second World War?
Battle of the Bulge.
No, D-Day, the Normandy landings. Which Australian state, formed as a separate colony in 1859 from the northern portion of New South Wales, was originally to be called Cooksland?
Victoria.
Queensland. In the Bible, who became Jacob's second wife? Jacob had previously been tricked into marrying her sister Leah.
Rachel.
Yes, the German term Helden tenor is used for a powerful tenor voice suitable for heavy operatic roles, especially in the works of which composer?
Wagner.
Yep, Hannibal by Thomas Harris is the sequel set 7 years later to which novel both were made into films starring Anthony Hopkins?
Silence of the Lambs.
Yes, what name is given to mysterious geometric patterns in fields only visible from above, which have been interpreted by some as messages from extraterrestrial beings?
Crop circles.
Yes, the zoologist Diane Fossey was particularly noted for her studies of which animals?
Gorillas.
Yes. What is the name of the rule that originated in France whereby persons whose descent from a previous sovereignty is traced only through a woman are excluded from succession to the throne?
Pass.
Well, I'm not surprised. I can tell you. It's Salic, the Salic law of succession. Doesn't matter though, Liz. 23 points. Well, what a close one that was. Let's have a look at all the scores. In fifth place, 10 points, Philip Isaak. Fourth place, 16 points, Chris Granderson. Third place, 17 points, Gareth Kingston. Second place, 22 points, Alan Gibbs. First place, 23 points, Liz Gore. Which means that Liz Gore is tonight's winner and she goes through to the grand final. Congratulations to her. And if you would like to be a contender in the next series, do go to our website, bbc.co.uk/mastermind. And you can follow us on Twitter @mastermindquiz. And do join us again next time for more Masterminds. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.